Welcome back to Will, A Wonderful World. Last time we went through a whole bunch of hoopla, and now we're finally gonna break this chain of sequences where first we gotta go through Carlos, then this new person, then we go to Jimmy, then finally to Lee Wen. Let's go. I sat on the bottom bunk of my only bunk in the tiny room. I held my head in my hands, thinking about the most baffling questions of the moment. Why was I in prison? About half a day ago, 2 policemen arrested me on the streets. They put me in their patrol car and sent me straight here, Hong Kong Central Prison. No one answering my questions, and they beat me up whenever I showed any resistance, and they just threw me inside this empty room. Nothing in here except a bunk bed, a wooden desk, and a sink and a toilet. Didn't even have a window. So this is what they call a jail cell? Cell 28, open up. It opened from the outside, someone came in. It must be a prank by Ren and the guys. They were probably just trying to give me a good scare. Must be getting me out now. However, the person came in had a pale face whiter than the wall and a pair of lips redder than blood. They were wearing strange long robe. It was a ghost. I'd always been afraid of ghosts since I was a kid. I jumped on the bed and hid under the blanket. Get out, your bed is the one on top. Don't lie on mine, how dirty. I heard a soft voice from outside. It actually sounded human. Climbed down and stood aside, watched the new person change to the prison uniform and wash himself. He seemed to be right at home. Soon the scary ghost had become a short young man with a clean haircut and innocent-looking face. He was my cellmate, Hotaru. Although we had just met, Hotaru was a really easygoing guy, and he would immediately told me everything about how he ended up here. Hotaru was from Japan. He had a long-term girlfriend from China. The problem was, the girl came from a prestigious family. They didn't approve of him. They kept seeing each other in secret. They would fly the sea every once in a while to be together. Eventually, they realized they would never receive her family's blessings, so they decided to elope. Fortunately, just when they decided to run away, the girl was killed in an accident. Hotaru was devastated. Being so far away in Japan, he didn't even know what really happened to her. He came to Hong Kong, tried to talk to the girl's relatives and family that he knew, hoping to piece together what happened. His efforts finally paid off. He learned that one of their family members was responsible for her death. She were merely collateral damage in a vicious power struggle. Hotaru wanted to avenge her death, but he didn't have any power or consciousness in his distant land. He had to seek help. He remembered a professional assassin he met in Japan. He was famous for creative ways of eliminating targets. Some people refer to him as the Magician. Is it the Zuko guy? Because if it's the Zuko guy... He already had a strange hobby, old adult back... Yep, it's Zuko. Hotaru was able to find out that the Magician happened to be in Hong Kong. However, hiring him required lots of money, which Hotaru didn't have. Began doing everything he could. Inevitably be damned in some illegal activities, he eventually caught and thrown into prison. Still wouldn't stop. To him, the prison was just another society, not unlike the one outside, populated by plenty of residents with all kinds of values. It wasn't just the guards or the warden. Even some of the prisoners might have unusual and powerful backgrounds behind them. Hotaru hustled among these people. He was willing to do everything and anything for a profit. He smuggled contraband, traded information with the prisoners, gambled with them. He even bribed the guards, complimented them, sometimes even sold his own body. Hotaru said as long as he could get revenge, he didn't care about himself at all. He began to choke up. I felt so angry. I was almost feeling both admiration and sympathy. If I were in his shoes, I probably wouldn't be able to do what he had done. Unfortunately, I was no more than a few $100 on me, and that was all I could give him. I believed every word Hotaru told me. Next day during lunch, I was mocked relentlessly by other prisoners. You should be thankful that he only had a few $100 on you. Told you he was going to fall for it. Hurry, give me 100. What kind of story did he slay this time? Deceased parents? Although he said what he said, not entirely mad, but here 9 out of 10 gods haven't played around with him. So angry, I dropped the spoon and ran back to my cell, which I was sitting on the bed with his legs crossed, making a pyramid out of poker cards. You lying bastards, give me back my money. Hotaru paid no attention, he just stuck 2 more cards. The TV was playing Japanese prank show near his knees. Sound and laughter came from the TV right on cue as if to mock me. Step forward and turn off the TV. You monster. Dragging off the bed angrily, the pyramid of cards collected scattered all over the floor. The air of the cell seemed to have suddenly frozen. People gathered right outside the cell. A strong Tark god walked in the crowd. I recognized him. He was the one who had taken my mugshot when I came in and searched my belongings. I seemed to recall that he was from the UK. Everyone called him Morgan. Oh, from Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and Morgan? I was about to tell Morgan what happened when he punched me right in the face. Hotaru wasn't completely lying, at least. Everyone in there might have some kind of unusual background behind them. Why was I so unfortunate? Not only did I end up in prison, I had to live with such a bastard of a cellmate. Lord, was this part of your trial? And this guy. 5 years wasn't really a long time. But when I looked down on Hong Kong from an airplane window, all I remember was some fractured memories about this city. Everything I remembered about Hong Kong seemed to be connected to a coffee shop called Maple House. However, when I finally found the old address, the coffee shop, there was only a real estate agency at the location. Tried asking around the neighborhood. They told me that the matron of the coffee shop had died in an accident. He also said a few regular customers had tried to keep the shop open in his name, but the landlord has refused to extend the lease. That meant I didn't have a reason to stay here any longer. I feel disappointed. Nevertheless, instead of wanting aimlessly, I went back to the UK sooner. Mental condition had been very stable recently. If I suffered an attack here, my doctor friend half a world away wouldn't be much help. For example, just earlier... No, actually, I couldn't tell how much just earlier really was. For as I can remember, it had been a clear night. I was walking in an alley in front of the coffee shop when I pulled my blazer tighter around myself. It was quite dark in that alley, except for the pale white moonlight shining down from above. I unintentionally looked up at the moon, and all of a sudden I felt the moonlight getting whiter and brighter. It was almost blinding. After a deafening moaning and buzzing, I blacked out. When I woke, I found myself lying in the bed of a hotel room I had booked. The other side, another man with a scruffy face and long hair was lying down, snoring with no inhibition. Who was this man? Had he brought me back here? How would he even know I was staying here? I obviously rummaged through his luggage. Besides a camera and some daily necessity, I found a passport and a work ID. He was a policeman from Korea. Maybe here as a tourist. Perhaps he was just a good Samaritan who decided to return the lost item he had found by the road. After I calmed down, I realized I was still wearing the same clothes as before I had left. Wrinkles on my clothes, the germs on the bed, and the other man were both making me feel uneasy. I couldn't call for room service before he left, so I decided to get changed. Changed in my clean clothes, walked in the main room. Sat down and sunk deep onto the couch. The digital clock on the TV said it was almost 10 p.m. on a Tuesday night. I decided to think about something before the man woke up. Used to want to become a doctor, but I never did. The reason was that while I had been studying for the qualification, I discovered I had a serious condition. It was called selective cognitive dissonance. It was a hereditary disease. A person who suffered from this disease would selectively manipulate their own memories about people and events, based on their own psychological conditioning. Simply put, their own brain would tamper with the memories without them realizing it. When I first found out, I realized that all my memories might not be accurate or even true at all. I was terrified. Couldn't stop myself from second-guessing the truth of my own memories. I was in the UK at the time. I had a psychologist friend. He helped me by treating with hypnosis therapy. Treatment allowed me to forget the unpleasant memories of my past. He told me that I was an entirely different person after therapy. Afterwards, I had a few good years, but there were some side effects. Couldn't remember what my parents looked like, nor where my home was. For the past years, there have been more serious reactions, too. Some fragmented, horrifying images would flash before my eyes, and I would feel severely sick or even pass out. My friend told me the hypnosis might be wearing off, or that my condition might be deteriorating. Whatever the case, we had decided to go for another session after I finished my trip and returned. I was staring at the TV when I suddenly sensed an inexplicable chill spread over my body. I felt like the room was spinning. I could hear nothing but overwhelming buzzing. The same number of magical visions were soaring through my mind. I could feel it. I could feel a crack opening in my brain, and something sticky, rotten, and pitch black was coming out of a cocoon. I was having a relapse. I held my arms tight around myself. I knew I was about to completely lose control. There was a knife on the desk. I could see my own reflection in the blank TV. My face was gradually overlapping with some gruesome visions in my head. It was too late. I remembered everything. My parents, my home, my hellish childhood. The buzzing in my ears and the spinning were morphing into excruciating pain, pitching every single nerve in my body. These bloody memories and the cruel truth they implied were pushing me to the brink of insanity. If I was on that edge, my illness would take over and my mind would push me off the cliff. And then history would repeat itself. I do not want to become someone I hated again. I do not. I cannot. I refuse. I must stop myself. I picked up the knife and stabbed myself in the throat at a perfect angle in the perfect depth. I could not afford to leave anything to chance. Goodbye, Dad, Mom. This world. I just hope that in my next life I could be a good, healthy child. The policeman was no longer asleep. He was standing at the bedroom door. He was holding his hand to his head and looked confused and neurotic. He looked at me as if I had just done something despicable to him. I was the one who was really losing control. The image of him screaming monster at me lingered in my brain. Horrifying fragments of memories were beginning to come even clearer. I couldn't control myself. I chuckled and laughed and screamed. I felt some changes happening, something not quite right. To make sure I still had control, I lunged at him. We were tangled together, hitting each other as hard as we could with our fists and feet. I need to relieve what was piling up in my mind in the most primal way. I pushed his head with my hand and slammed him into the TV screen, which then shattered into pieces but I didn't win the fight. The black barrel of a gun was pushed against my temple. The person who was holding the gun was the same face as the policeman, but I could see something different, something much more frightening. "You are a monster." He pulled the trigger, and those were the last words I ever said in this world. I looked at the fruit knife and had an idea, so I just want my anger for now. Later that night, I was laying on the top bed watching with my eyes open. Horuto turned in his sleep. My entire bed shook violently, and I heard a panic scream under me. I looked down, feigning ignorance. The bottom bunk only had a metal frame left. There were a few broken pieces of wood on the floor. And the screws that I loosened earlier were tying innocently in the corner of the cell. Horuto sat on the floor, shock still processing what just happened. "Haha, you sucker. Back at the orphanage, there had been a fat little kid who would always bully me. I once told him to listen the same way. Although I once scolded by Alicia, it still felt really good. They need a week to fix the bed. In the meantime, Horuto was telling me moved to another cell. Being in a cell was quiet, too quiet. I used to sleep in the top bed, and Alicia would sleep in the bottom. Was it a sturdy bunk? Alicia would have to hold the bed every time I climbed up. Otherwise, it felt like the bed would immediately topple over. Oh, how I wished I would for sleeping down there when I woke up. Flipped the wet pillow, lay my head on it again, and closed my eyes. I had to seriously start thinking what I had to do next. Oh, that changes something. Angrily dragged him off the bed, grabbed the knife, and held it against his pale, tender neck. The pyramid of cards collapsed and they scattered all over the floor. Air in the cell seemed to have suddenly be frozen. I just wanted to scare him, and surprisingly it worked. He said he would give me the money back the next day. However, on the next day, not only did I not see a penny, I was moved into another cell. Since then, I would often find my food tickets gone. And my uniform thrown in my toilet, stained with filthy things. Well, I knew something was a huge meathead, and I didn't dare complain to anyone about him. I would never return my money, but I found myself missing him a little. I could see my own reflection in the blank TV screen. My face was gradually overlapping with some gruesome visions. It was too late. I remembered everything. My parents' faces, my homes, my hellish childhood, the buzzing in my ears, the spinning, morphing, and excruciating pain, pinching every nerve in my body, the bloody memories pushing me to the brink of sanity. I was on that edge. My illness would take my mind and push me over the cliff. And then every history would repeat itself. I don't want to become hated again. I do not. I cannot. I refuse. I must stop myself. I pulled the window open and looked down to the 15 floors below. I stepped over the bars and fell to the concrete. I would not afford to leave anything to chance. Goodbye, Dad, Mom, this world. I just hope that in my next life I could be a good, healthy child. Nope. The image of the woman on TV hysterically screaming monster lingered in my eyes. Why was I having such a strong reaction to this word? A few blurry visions were beginning to come together in my head. Some of them were starting to become even clearer. There was a room without lights, a man who looked like a doctor, and me as a child. He was a monster. His action distorted my sense of self. When we clashed with each other, only one would survive. I felt some changes happening. It felt so good. As if a group of people had been tolerating a smoker in an enclosed space, and then the smoker was suddenly killed by a falling meteor. I left the hotel. I walked in the middle of the street under the pale moonlight. I used to believe God was real when I was a kid. But if he or she was real, none of the things would have happened to me. People like me, we didn't really need God, we just need a dagger. I decided to stay in Hong Kong. Must be a lot of people here who could use a dagger like this. A dagger like me. Adventure of Big Brother. In this modern life, there isn't anything that can be delivered right to the door. Yeah, there are. Many things can be delivered right to your door. Yet despite this, there are still things beyond our control. For instance, the shipping fee. Or that to qualify, you'd have to buy smaller filler items, hoping that they would be useful. Or that the tissues always run out sooner than expected. I always wrote that what I needed on my shopping list, and every Tuesday I would use the list and went shopping at the nearby market. Usually go between the supper and evening discount hours. This way I could avoid the afternoon rush as well as the housewives who swarmed in for discounted goods and be done within 30 minutes. It wasn't a good day to go out. The weather was extremely bad that night. As soon as I opened the door, huge raindrops smacked my face with small pebbles. Thunder exploded as if right on top of my head. I opened my umbrella. It was such a stormy evening, I even heard spooky things might come out at night like this. Just when I had finished the thought, "Big brother, could you come play with me?" Suddenly I heard a childish voice near me. I was so startled that I stumbled one step back. I stopped and took a look. It was a young boy I'd never seen before. "Hey kid, don't play outside in the rain like this. You should go home." I hurried past him without further thought. Just recently I'd become the target of some malicious gossip. The mastermind behind it was an elementary school kid. So I'd been feeling easily set off every time I saw these tiny mischievous young children. However, something didn't feel right. 2 blocks later, a young girl jumped in front of me holding a flowery umbrella and said in a crisp voice, "Big brother, could you come and play with me?" "Little girl, you're really cute, but Big Brother's not gonna play with you. Leave me alone. Oh, you cute boys and girls, I'm not in the mood." I held the umbrella lower and kept walking. However, I then mysteriously ran into several more children, similar ages. Although all of them were wearing different clothes, yet they all looked with a single, identical smile and said the exact same thing. It was freaky. I was almost walking as fast as an Olympic race walker. Just a little further once I turned that corner to be at the supermarket. Bump. Bumped right into someone, fell to the ground, my umbrella slipped out of my hand. It wasn't a kid this time, but someone very skinny. Couldn't see anything but a dark figure. Then it kept booming, sending a blind bolt of light and lit up the entire gray city. The person was covered from head to toe in dark clothes underneath a raincoat. His face was mostly hidden by a mask. I could only see a pair of ice-cold eyes that were glimmering from the flash of the lightning. I felt a chill climb up my spine. "Big brother?" A muffled voice came from behind the mask. I couldn't tell whether it belonged to a woman or a man, but I knew it was the most terrifying voice I had ever heard. "Could you come play with me?" I climbed off the ground, turned around, and ran as fast as I could without even picking up the umbrella, and yet I heard footsteps falling behind me at the exact same pace as mine, and laughter. Who is that? Why are they chasing me? What does it want with me? I kept getting scary and scary. I tried to shut them out and kept running, but no matter how fast, footsteps were still behind me. My mother always complained that I never exercised. She said if I ever ran into a bad guy, I would be dead because I was running too slow. "Mother, I promise I'll never fail to listen to you ever again." My legs were getting heavier and heavier, and the footsteps behind me were getting closer. Suddenly, my left hand was firmly grasped. I turned around under chair and gazed right into those cold eyes once again. No way those belonged to a normal human. They grabbed my wrist tightly with a strength that was too powerful for its skinny frame, and then covered my nose and mouth with a damp cloth. A tide of exhaustion suddenly washed over me. Everything went dark. I passed out. When I woke up, I realized I couldn't move. Wait, why was I tied to a table with my arms and legs spread out? Where are my clothes gone? "Big brother." I heard this chilling voice right next to my ear. The masked person had a shiny scalpel in one of his hands. Kept brushing the back of the cold scalpel over my thigh. He was holding the gossip paper and had a picture of my butt. "Big brother, I heard that you like little boys' lollipops." What the hell? I tried to protest, but my body felt as heavy as a piece of cast iron. The only sound I could make were the random noises. "Actually, I like them too." What? I saw silver flash through the air. The pain was so intense and numb I couldn't ignore it. I looked. Warm red liquid slashed my body. The only thought I had before I completely lost my consciousness was, damn, I shouldn't have gone out. Jimmy. The mountain was called Shuanglong Mountain. The name meant Mountain of Two Dragons. Weather like this, one could see the most beautiful rainbow on the mountain. The rain was beating down on the bus window. It washed the view outside into a blur. One thing recognizable was a blurry greenish mountain that was getting closer and closer. He's got cancer. Stomach cancer, late stage. He's got cancer. Stomach cancer, late stage. He's got cancer. Stomach cancer, late stage. Miss Yang's words kept echoing in my head. Why didn't he tell me? Why would he just leave me like this in secret? I thought that we were at least friends. Once again, I had been left alone. At the foot of the mountain, the ranger told me the hiking had been temporarily suspended due to high probability of mudslides. I managed to sneak past him when he wasn't paying attention. I was hiking up one step at a time along the wet and slippery steps. The school uniform had gotten soaked. My shoes were covered in mud. Looked up, I was maybe 100 meters from the summit? No, it should be only 50. Gust of wind at the mountaintop blew me off balance. I was blown over like a young and weak small tree. I rolled down the steps along the mud and rocks. I tried to grab onto anything, the tree, the grass, but they all snapped. I was rolling faster and faster. I felt myself leaving solid ground. I was flying, and I saw the valley beneath me. I pulled a pen, stabbed it as hard as I could. A murky torrent of mud flew down from the mountain. I somehow stuck the pen into the cracks, but the torrent was too powerful. I felt weightless. I had never done bungee jumping before. I imagine it would probably feel something like this. I was falling, I kept falling. What felt like a trip, my body touched the ground. I could feel something sticky coming out my nose and ears. It hurt so bad, so bad. I never thought this would be the end of me. I didn't want it to end like this. So many things I hadn't told him yet. We went. The sweat on my palm and glued my hand tightly to the pen that I just stuck in his shoulder, but he showed no signs of pain. Who the hell was this person? I fell down into the mud and the torrent of mud swept us both down the cliff. The mud swell kept splashing on my face and into my nose. Beginning to have trouble breathing, suddenly something struck me in the forehead and I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. I couldn't move. My body had been wrapped up like a mummy. Nurse told me that a team of road workers had found me. I was broken, numerous bones, but none of my organs had been damaged. It was almost a miracle. A doctor in a white coat came in after the nurse left. He was wearing a mask, so I couldn't see his face. He had a glistening scalpel in his hand. I could see a pair of cold yet crazy eyes. Big brother, we're about to start the procedure now. No. My heart skipped a few beats. Felt like I'd already died. I thought it must be a wild dream. I'd seen too many movies with a similar plot. Heroine was about to fall off a cliff and the hero was about to catch her. Yet we were not the hero and heroine of that kind of movie. The wind and rain kept getting stronger. He grabbed a small tree with his left hand. His tiny trunk was shaking more violently and restless. I was so scared I could sense that I wasn't the only one. Finally, a cruise sound broke the silence. We fell, holding each other's hands as tight as we could. I was falling, kept falling. After a turning body touched the ground, I felt something sticky coming out my nose and ears. At last, I managed to conjure enough courage. Mr. Wen, I love you. I didn't hear a response. In the rain, tears blurred my eyes. I couldn't see his face. I'm not sure how I found the strength, but I stepped forward at the last moment. I couldn't feel my heels, just missed the mudslide. A torrent of mud was falling off the slope. Landslide? The mud and soil beneath the masked person suddenly began to move rapidly, as if they'd just been awoken by the thunderous explosion in the sky. The masked person was stuck into the torrent and swept off the cliff. The goddess of fortune must have heard my call for help. Lucky me. After struggling to calm down, I realized a new problem. Where the hell was I? I eventually got a taxi and got back home, even though I was completely lost. The warm bed and soft sheets seemed like friends in another lifetime. When I got home, they sucked me in instantly. I felt like I were a black hole. The only thought I had when I lost consciousness was I shouldn't have gone out. My heart skipped a few beats. I felt like I'd already died. I thought it must have been a wild dream. I'd seen too many movies with similar plot. The heroine was about to fall off the cliff and the hero would catch her in her hands at that moment. Then she would cut his hand with something saying, "Let me go or I'll drag you down too." I was no heroine. Blood was being washed away by the rain. It flowed onto my hand and dropped onto my face. I had stuck a pen into his hand, but it had been blown away by the heavy wind. This wasn't a movie. I would drag him down. I definitely would. But I didn't have the courage to tell him to let go. It was such a coward. Hold on, keep your eyes on me. He held me even tighter. The rain and tears had blurred my eyes. I couldn't see his face. I'm sorry, I'm so scared. I was so scared of being left alone. Miraculously, he seemed to have heard my thoughts. Don't be scared. I would never leave you alone, ever. He grabbed a tree next to him with his left hand and leaned back. The tree was already bending at a dangerous angle. My body jerked upwards. The little tree snapped in half. The same instant he pulled me into his chest. He locked me in his strong arms. I felt a warmth that I hadn't felt in a long time. I couldn't think of anything else to say. He didn't say anything either. Maybe he did say something, but it was drowned out by the rain and I couldn't hear it. Well, that concludes the chain. I think we have enough time for at least... Yeah, I think we got time for one more.
Lo siento.
A boy with a baseball cap.
부처님, 나도 좀 도와줘요.
Unit 4, gone. Regret. Key of fortune. I'd say let's go. Just go sad. Rain kept pouring down, no sign of stopping anytime soon. Carriedly went on my back to the ranger's cabin on top of the hill. She had already fallen asleep. Due to the danger of the landslide, the park rangers had evacuated early. I laid her down on the only bed and tried to cover up with some sheets, yet I noticed something strange. I felt her forehead. It was a little too warm. There was some medicine and a few bottles of water in the cabinets. I tried to get her to take some pills. She leaned on my shoulder and mumbled half-consciously in her dream, and then I heard her say, "Father." I walked to the door and sounded the steps while staring at the rain. I had planned to travel to some new place where no one would know me and spend my final days there. I even asked Yin to watch over his kid on my behalf. I thought I could let this all go, yet the gods made me run into her again here. Gotta have you toyed with me enough. When will you stop? Yang had mentioned that Li Wayne's father was a painter and that he had passed away due to a heart problem. Sound just like me. Was that why she had always been so close to me? If so, what about how I felt about her? Since she had come into my life, I've been paying extra attention to her. First, I thought it was just out of curiosity, but lately, that feeling seemed to have evolved in some way. When I was in the hospital, I would often catch myself thinking about her without realizing it. I kept telling myself it would never happen. There had only been one person in my heart. The day after I'd gotten out and gone back to school, I didn't see her in class. During the lecture, I kept losing my thoughts, until I saw her passed out on the back door. I had no time to worry about other people staring at us. I carried her out of school, but I couldn't get a cab. I had to run all the way to the hospital with her on my back. Maybe that was the moment when I started feeling something more. Or maybe it had been even earlier. When our pictures had been posted, I had intentionally avoided her. When I walked past her, I knew she was staring, and I felt like the most horrible and stupid person in the world. So that might have been the moment, but maybe not. It wasn't. No, I shouldn't even be thinking about this. She and I, it was never gonna happen. And I kept getting darker and darker. Rain kept falling, and I was still sitting at the doorstep. I felt like I was dissolving in the rain and the night. I suddenly heard someone call from behind. She sat up on the bed, but looked away the second she saw my eyes. Mr. Wren, I've always liked you. I stood there, thinking that I must have heard it wrong. I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't have said that. You're my teacher, I must have made you very uncomfortable, but I couldn't hold it in any longer. If I don't tell you, I feel like I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm sorry, Mr. Wen. I'm sorry. Her hands were clenching, the sheets tightly. I want to be with you. I pushed her. She began crying and ran towards the door. She just ran into the evening rain. By the time I realized I could not see her anymore. After hesitating for what felt like forever, I told her the cruelest thing. I'm sorry, I can't be with you. I remember her expression when I had pushed her to the ground. I thought that I'd been disgusted by her, but how could I ever feel that about her? The person I ever been disgusting was me. I was so scared. I had no idea what I would mean to her if I crossed that line. Lover? Father? Just a pathetic dying cancer patient. I held my flashlight and aimlessly searched for her in the rain. I almost slipped a dozen times, and when I realized that she might have slipped and fallen, I hated myself even more. Before I knew it was daylight, the rain had finally stopped, and the sun had come out. The first ray of sunlight broke the cloud and sprinkled upon her body lying in the valley. She was so calm, so beautiful, so still, she was not even breathing. Her cold body in my arms. I felt like I had lost the world again. Would this... I couldn't simply ignore her existence any longer. I couldn't ignore my true feelings either. She was so pure, so kind. She was a gift from God. I didn't want to hurt her, but I couldn't help myself. I reached out to her and held her in my arms as tight as I could. Kissed her forehead, kissed her cheek, kissed her lips, and dressed her, kissed every inch of her. Her long hair dripped over my arms and fell onto the bed. Her pale body was glistening with the warm light of the candle. She was trembling beneath me. The soaking wet shirt had been stuck to my skin, but it was becoming boiling hot with our body heat. Her two heartbeats were pounding, racing, and becoming one. The rain kept falling, but the world did not concern us, not one bit, not for a long while. The rain had finally stopped. The sun had come out. The first ray of sunlight came through the window, fell upon her long, soft hair. She only kissed her forehead. The rest of my life belonged to you now, and I would live it well for you. Key of Fortune. Reached out for my body pillow, but it wasn't there. Shook my dizzy head and sat up on my bed, trying to remember what happened last night. I'd been chased by a masked man on the way to the supermarket. The man seemed determined to kill me. Finally got away thanks to a landslide off the road. I was completely exhausted. I came and fell asleep as soon as my head touched the pillow. However, this was clearly not my room. I sat up. The floating dust made me sneeze. I turned around and saw there was a clearly human shape marked on the old sofa bed. The rest of it was covered in dust. Some of the furniture was covered with cloth, messily arranged in the corner. No windows in the room, only a locked gate. I appeared to be in a warehouse. The only source of light was a dim desk lamp on a wooden table that had one leg shorter than the others. There was an hourglass and a use syringe on an uneven table. A note was placed. You were pretty lucky yesterday, but can you still find the key to your fortune today? This time the game is timed, so please be aware of your time limit. If it's game over for you, I'll be very sad. The note was signed with a smiley face. Smiley face? No, this was not just a smiley face. This was Pi? The infamous psycho killer Pi. 2 years ago, an extremely bizarre murder case had taken over the news. A 37-year-old man died in the bathtub of his own house. More accurate, he didn't die, his body was placed there, all 24 pieces, each of them miraculously sliced. The body had been drained. The blood had been drained and the entire bathroom was totally spotless, as if just to be cleaned by special trained crew. The only clue was a smiley face drawn with a marker. Even more bizarre, the man was a divorced father who had been living with his 10-year-old son. After his death, the son told the police that he had been abused by his father. In fact, he claimed that he remembered the exact number of times, 24. Was it just a coincidence? Was this smiley face killer some sort of vengeful angel? Media started to spin the story, adding their own imagination and speculation. For a while, all kinds of articles about justice and evil were all both legitimate and gossip newspapers alike. As the police were completely at a loss with the case, a similarly strange yet wildly different case happened. A drug-addicted pub singer who was known for frequently abusing his girlfriend and carrying multiple miscarriages were found dead in the backstage where he usually performed. The crime scene was clean, no signs of a struggle. Only able to identify traces of blood after using the luminol. I know luminol. His vocal cords had been ripped away from his body. Meanwhile, a cassette tape was found. The tape was a recording of his own voice, but completely off-key, a smiley face drawn upon the tape. Afterwards, the police referred to the suspect by the codename Pi because the face looked a lot like the pi symbol if rotated. They tried to prevent all information regarding Pi from leaking, yet somehow the media kept finding more juicy stories. Soon summarized several characteristics. They were sadistic, they were male, and there was some kind of abnormal perversion. A middle-aged man who was extremely into S&M that started targeting neighborhood children. A man who always cheated on his partners and beat them up when he ended the relationship. An elementary school principal who was a pedophile and molested his own students. Molested the students. It was as if a bomb just went off my brain. It must be because of that goddamn gossip article. He was after me for the wrong reason. However, I had no choice but to find him so I could explain myself. I read the note again, rolled up my sleeve to examine my arms, and I found it. There was a tiny bluish needle mark on my left arm. There wasn't much time left. Warehouse gate had been secured by an ancient-looking lock. The lock was covered with carved markings that seemed quite heavy and sturdy. There was a keyhole. It seemed to be a challenge. To make things worse, it wasn't that I couldn't find a key. A chest had been placed right next to the gate. It was filled with keys, lots of them in all kinds of shapes. God damn it. I flipped the chest to the ground. All the keys poured out. There must be thousands of them. About half of the sand was still on top of the hourglass. Probably only had approximately 1 hour. Even if I could try one key, I'd only have gone through less than half of them. However, I have no time to waste, and I started trying them one by one, even though I had no idea what to do. 50 minutes. I inserted another key. Yet, the goddess of fortune never failed me ever since I was a little kid. Falling grains dropped of the hourglass. Extreme pain exploded in my chest. I couldn't even hold the key in my hand anymore. I dropped the key onto a pile and made a clinking sound. I collapsed. I was a complete waste of my time watching all those investigation thriller movies. All I could think of were the scenes where the victim died. I couldn't remember every scene where the hero escaped from because of their intelligence. It hurt so much that I curled into a ball. My mind was gone, and I felt warmth beneath my nose. I wet my face. Blood. It was over. I was going to die in this godforsaken place that no one would ever know about because the psycho killer had got the wrong guy. The user has been granted administrative privileges. After 50 minutes, I finally cracked the administrator password. The lock was actually an electric lock that looked like a mechanical one, connectively wireless to a remote named Lock of Luck. Through a nearby router, the server was the real key of luck. The program that controlled the lock had been set to unlock after 2,000 attempts. No one in this fucking world could do it 2,000 times in an hour. The bastard almost had me fooled. I spent a little more time changing the 2,000 to 1 in the program and re-execute the program. Now all I had to do was try it one more time and I could get out. Just when I was about to insert the key, an excruciating pain exploded in my chest. I couldn't even hold the key in my hands. I dropped the key into a pile. It made a clinking sound. I collapsed into a pile. The final grains had dropped. Damn it, I'm so close. How many endings? Okay, there's... There we go. was still not the right key, but I know something strange. I held the lock close to my face and tried another key, in and out. Dim red light flashed inside the keyhole. Must be a wireless sensor. There must be a wireless sensor. This isn't a regular lock. I took out a PDA and started scanning the devices. Bluetooth, infrared, Wi-Fi, anything. Finally, a server named 𝐿OCK appeared on my PDA screen, but I needed 50 minutes to crack the administrative password. Finally, the grains of sand had dropped into the bottom half. I dropped keys. So... there we go. Yes! Beep. The lock opened with a crisp electric beep. Yes, thank God I haven't been fooled by how it looked. I wiped the sweat off my forehead with my sleeve and disconnected the wires, connecting both my PDA and the lock. 15 minutes ago, I had a sudden epiphany after trying a few keys without success. I took out my PDA and scanned for nearby devices. That's how I found my chance to survive. The lock was actually electric that looked like a mechanical. It was connected wirelessly to a remote server named 𝐿OCK through a nearby router. The server was the real 𝐬𝐤. To have laid out such a trap, it could only be one thing. Pi had secretly investigated me and knew I was a hacker. That bastard only had me fooled. It took me 50 minutes to crack the administrator password for the server, and I was able to find the program and control the lock. The setting indicated the lock would only be open if there were 2,000 attempts. Didn't matter which key I tried, all I needed to do was try 2,000 times with any key. No one in this world had 2,000 times in an hour, except a hacker. Pushed open the gate, the humid air and the clear night sky made me feel like I had never felt anything before. A paper bag was taped to the other side of the gate reading antidote. In the bag, there was a syringe filled with some unknown liquid and a car key. Are you fucking kidding me? Antidote 1? That bastard. Shooting pain exploded my chest. I had no choice but to inject the first antidote in my arm. I had to keep going. I had to find him. Struggled to stand up, sweat all over my body, and pressed the button on the key fob. Beeping sound came from a car not too far away. The headlights blinked twice. Well, well, well. And it looks like we have another thing done, which unfortunately locks these guys out again for some reason. So, I think I'm gonna leave it off there. That was an exciting roller coaster of emotion. There was sadness, there was happiness, there was just so much. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, thank you for that. I'll see you guys next time. Remember, try to have a good day, especially if you think about playing this game.